Now I'd like to present Cedric Coban to come to the stage. Make a big applause. Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. No, I'm good actually. Clicker. Is this it? All right. So thank you, Oslo. This is first time here. I'd like to thank BitSpace for giving me the opportunity to actually keep traveling and talk about crypto, two of the things that, I don't know, couldn't be more grateful. So I'm going to take the opportunity to present a lens in order to see blockchains, not the only lens. Oh, this is not the clicker. Thank you. I'm going to present a lens from which you can view different blockchain projects in order to kind of interpret, not necessarily value, but just kind of a way of understanding it. I'll be using Muse as an example of how we're doing it. So first, just what it is. The whole goal actually is to explain something that appears very, very complex, like blockchain technology, and show that it's really just very basic financial tools that have been in existence for decades, if not centuries. The example will be Muse. In a nutshell, it is a global self-paying royalty system. More in detail would be a database for all the music metadata. So say you have the artist, the performing artist, year of release, who's the publisher, composer, lyricist, all that type of information, so you can know who to pay. So if you're a Spotify, you know exactly who to credit and who to pay. Being a blockchain, it's awesome for funneling value. That's one of the first uses of it, or if not the first use. So you can actually do testing. You can actually use it to send the payments themselves. And finally, the weirder part is that it can be the source of payment. Normally, you need a company to actually pay the royalty recipients or a user. So whether it's a user paying a subscription fee or the advertiser subsidizing the listening, somebody's paying here that's on the consumption side in order for the musician to receive wealth. In our case, it's the blockchain itself that's paying out, and we'll see how that's done. The side effect is that you have free listening as a consumer, which we don't have at the moment. There's always something you're paying with ads or you're paying with subscription. So we'll see kind of how that works. So let's get to the finance underneath the hood. First concept is a word everybody knows, company. I'm not going to go into that word, but DACs and DAOs. DAO is decentralized autonomous organization, and it was originally coined as DAC for Decentralized Autonomous Corporation. It later became Distributed Autonomous Company. But for this example, we're going to be using DAC just because it helps with my analogy to see the blockchain as a company. So some people see it as money, some people see it as goal. I'm proposing the lens of the company. Just see it as a company in the sky. Unlike companies, it has no CEO, no marketing department. It doesn't have assets. It doesn't have a mailing address. But like a company, it's made out of shares, right? You can buy into those shares. In the case of Bitcoin, you could consider Bitcoins being a share of the big entity that is the blockchain. So, like some companies, or unlike some, you have to see those companies as broke-ass companies, basically. They have no wealth. They don't have land, they don't have property, they don't have employees, they don't have a bank account. They only have their code base and shares of their own entity. So they can't really pay out anybody in anything other than in their own shares. Just like that painter who painted the Facebook lobby. They didn't have any money, they paid him in shares, and that guy's probably pretty happy now. So this is what blockchains can do. The shares, you can either have new ones created, like in the Bitcoin idea. Every 10 minutes there's 12.5 new Bitcoins distributed. This dilutes all the existing shareholders, but it can be worth it from the value produced by the recipients of those shares. This is the concept that's just see it as a company and paying out in shares. In the case of Bitcoin, they are paying out the miners. Keep in mind, not every single miner gets paid, only the lucky one that found the nonce first, that can solve the algorithm. You can just, you can join a mining pool if you don't want to take that risk. which would be highly recommended. With Muse, it's the exact same thing. You would have the blockchain pay shares to the block producers. The difference is we're using a different algorithm that's more cost efficient as far as mining rigs or electricity. We don't have that expense, so there's an extra budget we can do something with it. So we do the exact same thing. We pay the value creators, which in our case are the copyright holders, the musicians themselves. So it's taking the exact same thing. You're taking shares, spreading them around to the block producers, but also spreading them around to the others that create value. The difference and the important part here is that the miners or the witnesses or the block producers, they are crypto people. You know, they're there, they understand crypto well, they love the volatility, they like waking up to their phone with, oh my God, $5,000. They like that. The musician, not so much. They are there to, you know, they have to feed themselves, right? They have to, this is their main gig. It's not their 5% of their portfolio that's high risk. They're paying their bills with this. So we cannot pay them in a stock, in a share of an entity, because it's too volatile and they might not know the value of it. So the solution already exists in the financial world, and that's the second concept I want to explain, which is the convertible debt or convertible notes. How those work is essentially, say I have a startup, I have no idea what the value of it is, I just have this idea, and you want to put $10,000 in my company. I don't want to say no, but I don't know how much shares to give you. I have no idea what my company is worth. So do I give you 50% or do I give you 0.5%? The odds that we land right on the sweet spot is very, very slim. So the tool that was invented was the convertible debt. Like, look, I'll take your $10,000, thank you, and I'll give you an IOU that says, I owe you exactly $10,000 worth of shares whenever I know what it's going to be worth down the line. So if my shares are worth $1 each, you're going to get 10,000 bucks for my 10,000 shares, and if it's worth $10,000 per share, then you're just getting a share. This is the concept that's being used behind the scenes. So the musician is actually getting dollars. All he sees is the dollar. It stays relatively stable compared to any other cryptocurrency, and he's able to know exactly how much his royalties have earned him, how much his music has earned him. He can go pay the bills with that. Only behind the hood, when he's ready to cash out, is he exposed to the volatility, but that's, you know, don't have time for that yet. So in essence, you have the Muse blockchain that's paying out. It is the entity paying out, right? It's creating those convertible debt, and when the musician wants them, it will give the musician those shares which he can liquidate. So there's not a third party here involved. The entity, the blockchain itself is doing that. It's hard-coded. There's a limit to how much he can even print out, how much debt that can be created versus how many shares. Now, just to sum up, I think, oh crap, I can slow down. I actually have more time than I thought. Excellent. So Muse, you just see it as a company paying shares to everybody, pays the block rewards in shares that are volatile, and pays the musician in convertible debt. So the artist only sees the music. The awesome advantage to that is that we have a side effect, a very strange side effect, which would be the listener can actually come in because of that system. It sounds very strange that you would have a listener that is not paying anything and a musician that's actually getting paid. How can he not pay but he gets paid? There's a disconnect. It sounds weird, but if you look under the hood, it's a closed loop economy. So no subscriptions required. You could just show up and start listening to content. You know transparently, and you're not even have to go through ads. I mean, a front end could offer ads if they want, but that would be, you know, gravy on top. So the listener can even go look into a block explorer and see, oh, looky here, I paid this, you say, oops, I did it again, Britney Spears. I listened to that yesterday, it registered, and she got her cryptocurrency for my listening. So the fans really like it. It's a fair trade music system. There's no cooking of the books, no companies holding the wealth. It's not going through Spotify, it's not going through Apple Music, it's not being funneled through all the royalty collection agencies where everybody takes a cut. It's going directly into the musician's wallet, automatically split through every participant. So the weird thing is that it's not even being sent to the musician, it's kind of created in their wallets. So it's like opening your wallet and bam, you have your royalties there just because your fans have been listening to you. So this is the side effect that is Muse.